Thanks for coming over. This is Amodeus. Today's Dungeon Hunter Champion breakdown is about Rota the Nature Valkyrie. Now, first things first, is she worth it? Yes. Rota's a great unit, has viability throughout the entire game. In fact, if you're a new player, I think she should be your first 6-star. And this is because she can be a farmer in early scenarios, a main champ in basically all of your team composition builds through Elder Drake 10 and Steel Widow 11. So that's a pretty big endorsement. But even more so, I have yet to encounter anyone in our community who honestly regrets 6-starring this champ. So she is definitely worth it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to these champion breakdowns, is this unit free-to-play friendly? That's super important because the more units we have available to everybody, the better. And Rota is a 3-star nature champion that's available for free at the beginning of the game when you use another player's recruit code. Mine's in the description if you want to use it. She's also available from common discs. She's also available from raid discs. Oh, and in the Nature Bull Demon King raids, you can get pieces of her to summon through the summoning shards, right? So she is definitely free to play. Now, in Dungeon Hunter Champions, it's also important when building a champion to see how hard it is going to be to skill them up. And she is the easiest of the easies, right? Everybody in her family is a 3-star. So you're going to get them from common discs, from rare discs. So you're going to be able to skill up very easy. Now, as a warning, I do want to throw out there, when it comes to skilling up Rota, what you don't want to do is use the Light Valkyrie Sigrun or the Dark Valkyrie Skald. They're harder to get, harder to replace, and you're going to regret it if you use them. Trust me, there's tons of stories. If you have the story that's just like that, warn people off in the comments below because it happens and it's tragic, right? The Light and Dark are good units. Now, skills. Whew, this is one of the most special aspects, I think, of her as a champion on a team, and it'll heavily influence how you want to build her and your team throughout the game. But to get a better feel for all of this, let's look at her skills real quick. Her auto attack is called Zap. It hits multiple enemies on its 3rd attack, and in all honesty, because you build Rota on attack speed, she does this a lot, and it's important because she is really great early on for waves and for farming. So this is a great skill. Rending Bolt is her next skill, and it will lower her target's defense and do bonus damage based on Rota's attack speed. Well, you built the attack speed so that she could handle waves and so that she could handle the Scorpion in scenario, but now we're going to go ahead and throw a defense break, or a lower defense on that target, and it's going to be even easier for her to take that unit out. So, great skill. Twister, her 3rd skill, also does bonus damage based on attack speed. I think we see a theme here, right? And to keep that theme going, she also does another debuff with this skill, lower attack. So not only does she do more damage, does she make it easier for others to do damage, she makes sure that nobody dishes damage out. Oh, such a great skill kit. Now, Tempest is Rota's ultimate or final skill, and rather than being a damage-dealing attack that does boosted attack speed damage, Tempest actually boosts attack speed, so everything else becomes more effective. Not just for Rota, but for everybody else on the team as well, right? Pretty amazing. But she also reduces skill cooldown for the entire team when she uses it. It's just a great skill. So you can start to see where focusing on having her skills available is important, focusing on her attacking quickly is important, and you can see where having her on a team to lower skill cooldowns is important. Let me toss one more thing in there. She has a synergy trait that reduces the skill cooldown by 19%, effectively making her better for nature champions than Manus or Vamal, right? The only champions better than the Valkyries at speeding up their elements are the greater demons, which is a nat 5. So you're really going from a nat 3 to a nat 5. Now, we did talk earlier about team roles, and that's important because when you look at the screen right now, there are very specific things that Rota is doing to help this team. So let's kind of break a couple of those things down. So she is right now in the early to mid game field, right? She's Elder Drake 10. We've kind of finally gotten a decent adept set on her. Her role is a primary damage dealer. Everything else she does, no matter how awesome it is secondary to that. So we need to make sure she's on a great set to deal damage. And that's important to realize that we need to change her gear up to reflect what her role is. on the team because it can definitely change the team composition. So for instance, if we look at her a little bit later into mid-game, closer to end-game, in the Ascended raids, we'll see how that changes as well. So here we have Steel Widow 11. And as you can see, she is a primary damage dealer, but now her skills and buffs become even more important. So having them available because she's alive and having that damage still there is key, right? So now we are going to transition and start to build that hybrid Rota, which I'm sure everybody's kind of familiar with, but in case you're not, it's attack speed, defense, attack. Or I guess you could go HP instead of defense, but that's up to you, right? So the goal is for her to cycle through her skills, to boost everybody up, to hold the team together so that they can do all the crazy stuff that they want to do from a DPS and a stripping standpoint through her skills. And as you can see, like, that's a super fast team. But what happens in Ultimate Blitz, right? Rota really shines as not just an aggressive damage dealer, but as a support role. So in that, her build starts to change, and it starts to become a little bit different for the different roles that she's filling. And that's why, once again, team composition is so important to how you want to build her. Because if you want to build her with a support role, you want to make sure that she still is going to be able to capitalize on the attack speed needs, make sure she still does damage, but you need her to stay alive as long as possible too, right? So you got to start to mitigate those, and that's where the gear builds come in. So let's look at a couple of different builds. Now, we understand her skills, we understand her role, and where we can use her, but we got to figure out how to maximize all of those things. So I know there's a lot of builds out there, as she's used through the entire game, and as a unit that's available to you early on and is so impactful, I want to make sure that we do talk about early game builds, because a lot of early game builds really revolve around attack speed, crit rate, and attack. Basically using vital or rapid sets depending on where you're at in scenario versus Elder Drake. Now, this is the build that most likely will be used to farm and get you through, I don't know, like Elder Drake 7, maybe Steel Widow 5. But this build is going to give away to Adept, right? Early Adept sets are attack speed, crit rate, and attack, right? But as your gear drops improve, you're going to approach her mid-game build. But the moment you get her on Adept, everything starts to really congeal with her on your team as a major damage dealer. Now, once you get some of those coveted 6-star Adept gear pieces, you can finally plus 15 your gear, and you can start to really see the ultimate version of Rota come out. Because Rota on Adept Keen, with attack speed, crit damage, attack, and with lots of crit rate and substats to get her close to 100%, or preferably 100%, I mean, she takes over the mid-game. And you just completely move past having other team leads, basically, right? Because now with that build, you're able to pre-flight ED11. Of course, that means you can pre-flight ED10. You're developing into a speed team for your Ascended Steel Widow levels as well, right? Now, here's what happens, though, when you start to enter those Ascended raids. Like, you've got this mid-game, it's all locked down, but you want to get into the Ascended raids. So the harder, or I guess rather the higher level of Ascended raids require Rota to sustain a little bit more as a support. So you're going to have to take out that crit damage, and you're going to replace it with the defense or an HP glove piece, right? So she's still going to have high attack speed, she's still going to benefit from that, and she's going to have attack, right, on her bracer. So you're still going to be able to do great damage, but now she's a little bit more balanced. And this allows you to make sure that the rest of the units on your team are actually dealing more damage, right? So they're going more often, they're dealing more damage just because attack speed has been upped and they're doing more auto attacks. The defense is lowered, and you need to have that up there, right? So as a support unit, now suddenly, oh, I need to have some accuracy in these subsets, not just crit rate and crit damage. You got to have some of that on there because you want that lower attack so that you can have these units that aren't built tanky to be able to do some of this massive damage that's needed in Ascended raids. And that's important because there are a couple of units, to be honest, I'm thinking of Caroline right now, but in the Ascended raids, the Siege Tower ultimate of dropping all of that OGD is probably one of the only viable OGD champions in the game for consistent farming of the Ascended raids, especially like, you know, Steel Widow 13 and up. So having Rota there to get that up more often and to make sure that that attack power is down, because now you got to build all these other units with more attack and less tank, It's really important to make sure she's landing those. So accuracy suddenly becomes important. And now she is a secondary damage dealer in a main support unit, right? Because she's speeding up the skills, doing all the things that she does. So that really starts to take over that late game, right? Now, we're not even talking about in-game builds for anything else, but that really becomes like the penultimate Rota and what you're doing and how you're going to use her. So really kind of filling that out for that ascended raid farming, you can start to see, because we really started the conversation with, oh, she can be the first 6-star you make, and now we're talking about ascended 13, 14, 15 raids and what she can do there. Really powerful, really impactful, an absolutely great unit. Once again, highly recommend building her. I'd love to know what you think down in the comments below as far as what builds you've done, what you've tested, what your thoughts are. I'm sure it's all going to be a glowing review, but let me know, because I have no problem putting out a supplementary video on these champs when it comes to the champion breakdown. Alright, as always, thanks for watching the videos. Have a great day.